Now right underneath that little finger are your marriage lines. You read in between the section at the end of the heart line and the ring around the little finger, and you look at the horizontal lines going across. And you read from the bottom up. The bottom is your early part of your life, and the up around the ring around the little finger is the later part of your life. So I can see the 3 marriages in there, but boy, that number 1 line is not a very dark line. No love lost there. That number 2 line isn't very dark either, but the number 3 line, your last line sitting up closest to the ring around the little finger, is your best line. That's your marriage that you're in right now. That's quite a long line. It goes over, then it dips down on the end. When it dips down on the end, the spouse dies first. If it tips up on the end, you die before your spouse. But it tips down on the end. Maybe you married somebody that's a little bit older than you. Although men have a tendency to pass away about 6 to 8 years before women do. Women live longer than men do. But that 3rd marriage line is good, and it's about 2.5 times longer than your 2nd marriage line. So add that up and see how long. There's a very good timeline on marriages. It's a little bit of a guessing game, but it's a lot longer line than that 2nd marriage. And in between that section where the heart line ends and the ring around the little finger, that is your marriage and your children area. Right where the heart line ends is your early part of your life, and the ring around the little finger is the later part of your life. So you look at the marriage lines which go horizontal across there. I can see your 1st marriage line. It isn't as good as your 2nd marriage line. It's a lighter line. If you look at that in your right hand only, you'll see that 1st marriage line is a lighter line than that 2nd marriage line. The 2nd marriage line it's much darker, and it means a better marriage. Now, you look at the ends of those lines to see what happens to you. Your 2nd marriage line is slightly longer than the 1st marriage line, so that means you're probably going to live. I think you were married about 24 years the first time, weren't you? 24 and a half. It means you're going to be married a little bit longer than that 1st marriage that you had. But that 2nd marriage line tips up on the end, which means that your spouse dies after you. It means you will pass away before the spouse. And I think your wife's had a tip. Yeah, hers tips down on the end, which means that her spouse will die first, which they both match up exactly. The children lines then go vertical, starting right underneath that ring finger at that line, and you read from the inside out. So your first children are on the inside of that, below that finger. And I can see 2 really good lines. Those would be your own children. And then I can see your stepkids in there, almost every one of them. But you got one in there in particular that you bonded with really good. So I've written 2 kids, but you bonded with one stepchild quite well. You do have other stepchildren that show in the hand there, but only one that you really bonded with. Now I have 2 kids. You bonded with 2 kids really good. Maybe that's, I don't know if you had your 2 kids. You've got a couple of other children in there that you bonded with.